Sally's leading your new company. Where does that leave you?
I do have exciting news of my own, and I will enlighten you very soon.
Are you digging for dirt on me?
No.
Did Kane put you up to this?
Okay, what's it about?
Audra, there's something that you need to know about the kind of person she really is.
The air in Genoa City is thick with more than just the chill of an approaching autumn. It's heavy with the scent of betrayal, the echoes of long-buried secrets, and the palpable tension of lives teetering on the edge. In an episode that masterfully wove together threads of corporate espionage, romantic reckoning, and a medical crisis that could shatter a family, Wednesday's chapter of The Young and the Restless proved that in this town, the past is never truly past. It's just waiting for the perfect moment to detonate. The Chancellor Winter's War Room. The episode opened not in a lavish office, but in the more intimate, strategy-focused confines of the Chancellor Winter's conference room. Lily Winters, dressed in a sharp, powerful crimson blazer that mirrored her simmering fury, stood over a table littered with financial documents and legal pads. Opposite her, Devin Winters wore a look of grim determination. "He's not just testing us, Lily," Devin stated, his voice low and steady. "He's systematically dismantling every partnership we've spent the last year building. Tucker McCall has his sights set on one thing, and one thing only: total control." Lily's fist came down softly but firmly on the table. "He can try, but he forgets who he's dealing with. We built this company from the ground up, not from a silver spoon. We've fought harder than he ever has." The sibling bond was strong, but the stress of Tucker's relentless corporate assault was creating hairline fractures. They debated their next move, a bold, preemptive strike by leveraging their European contacts to cut off Tucker's expansion plans before they could gain traction. The dialogue was sharp, a rapid-fire exchange of ideas and fears, showcasing the brilliant business minds they've become, forged in the fires of their family's complicated legacy. The scene was interrupted by the arrival of Nate Hastings, whose calm demeanor provided a momentary balm. He had been doing his own digging. "I've been looking at the shell companies he's using to funnel money," Nate revealed, pulling up a complex chart on the monitor. "They all lead back to a holding firm in Zurich, but the paper trail is a maze. It's like he wants us to waste our resources chasing ghosts." The trio's strategy session was a masterclass in high-stakes tension, a chess game where the board was the global cosmetics industry and the pieces were billions of dollars and family legacies. The question hung in the air, unspoken but deafening. How far is Tucker willing to go, and what secret weapon might he have that they haven't yet anticipated? A collision of hearts at Society. Across town, the ambience at Society was deceptively serene. The soft clinking of glasses and low hum of conversation provided a stark contrast to the emotional typhoon brewing at a corner table. Sharon Cullen sat, nervously tracing the rim of her water glass, waiting for Chancellor. When he arrived, his usual confident stride was replaced by a hesitant gait. The pleasantries were brief, a painful dance around the elephant in the room. "Sharon, I know things have been complicated," Chance began, choosing his words with the care of a bomb disposal expert. "Complicated is one word for it," Sharon replied, a sad smile touching her lips. "Chance, we can't keep pretending that night in Milan didn't happen." The flashback was subtle, a glimpse of a moonlit Italian piazza, shared laughter, a moment of unexpected connection that led to a passionate, unforgettable kiss. It was a moment of weakness, a spark of life for two people feeling lost in the shadows of their respective partners, Adam Newman and Abby Newman Abbott. "It was a mistake," Chance said, his voice thick with guilt. "A beautiful, terrible mistake. I love Abby. I love my family." "I know you do," Sharon whispered, her eyes glistening. "And I care about Adam, deeply. But what we shared felt real, Chance. It felt like being seen for the first time in a long time." Her confession hung between them, a dangerous and tempting truth. They made a pact to bury the secret, to recommit to their lives. But as they parted ways, the lingering, fraught glance they shared promised that this secret was a live grenade, and the pin had already been pulled. A mother's agony at the Newman Ranch. The grandeur of the Newman Ranch felt more like a gilded cage for Victoria Newman. She paced the length of her living room, her phone pressed to her ear. "No, Mother, I haven't heard from her. It's been over 24 hours. This isn't like her." The fear in her voice was raw, stripping away the powerful CEO facade to reveal the terrified mother beneath. Her daughter, Eve, had vanished after a heated argument about her college future, an argument where Victoria had laid down the law and Eve had screamed words no parent ever wants to hear. "You care more about Newman Enterprises than you'll ever care about me." Victor Newman entered, his presence immediately commanding the room. "Victoria, you are Newman. We do not panic." But even the mighty Victor's edict couldn't mask the concern in his eyes. He put his own network into motion, a shadowy operation to find his granddaughter without alerting the press or the police. The scene then cut to a dimly lit, cramped dorm room at a state college 2 hours away. Eve was with a friend, her face streaked with tears. "She just doesn't get it. I don't want to be her. I don't want that life of boardrooms and betrayals." The friend tried to comfort her, but the isolation and fear were evident. This was more than a teenage rebellion. It was a crisis of identity, a desperate flight from a legacy that felt suffocating. Victoria's subsequent scene, where she broke down in private, clutching one of Eve's old childhood toys, was a heartbreaking portrait of maternal love clashing with dynastic expectation. A test of trust for Daniel and Lily. Later, at the Grand Phoenix, the professional and the personal collided for Lily. She found Daniel Romalotti in his suite, surrounded by storyboards for their new immersive gaming project. He took one look at her strained face and set his tablet down. "Talk to me," he said, his artist's soul intuitively sensing her turmoil. She collapsed onto the sofa, the weight of the day finally crushing her. She spoke of Tucker, of the immense pressure, of the fear of failing her family's name. Daniel listened, a steady and supportive presence. He offered no business solutions, only emotional support, reminding her of her own strength. It was a tender, intimate moment that solidified their growing bond. However, the shadow of Heather Stevens loomed. In a brief but telling scene, Heather was seen having a covert lunch with a man in a nondescript suit, exchanging a sealed envelope. The connection to Daniel's past legal troubles was implied but not stated. Was Heather working a case, or was she inadvertently or deliberately about to pull Daniel back into a world that could threaten his hard-won stability and his new relationship with Lily? The trust between Daniel and Lily was strong, but in Genoa City, it was always being tested. Claire's crisis and a family's fear. The episode's most visceral and emotional climax unfolded at the Genoa City University Medical Center. Kyle Abbott paced the sterile waiting room, his face ashen. Summer Newman Abbott sat rigidly in a plastic chair, her hands clenched together so tightly her knuckles were white. A doctor emerged, his expression grave. "Mr. Abbott, Ms. Newman, we've stabilized her, but the situation is critical. The fever is spiking, and her white blood cell count is dangerously low. It's a severe reaction to the chemotherapy. We've moved her to the ICU." The camera followed Kyle and Summer as they were led to Claire Grace's room. The vibrant, hopeful young woman was now pale and fragile in the hospital bed, a tangle of wires and monitors connecting her to the machines, keeping her alive. The beeping of the heart monitor provided a terrifying soundtrack. Kyle reached for Claire's hand, his voice breaking. "Hey, cousin. You have to fight this, okay? You're a Newman. We're too stubborn to go down without a fight." The mention of the Newman name here wasn't about corporate power, but about a familial tenacity for survival. Summer, tears streaming down her face, whispered to Kyle, "What if the trial was a mistake? What if we pushed her too hard?" The guilt was a crushing weight. This was no longer about business or romance. It was a raw, human story of life and death, of the terrifying gamble of modern medicine and the unbreakable, desperate love of family clinging to hope in the face of a potential tragedy. Episode's end, an ominous revelation. The final scene of the episode belonged to Tucker McCall. He was not in his office, but in a secluded, elegant apartment, a place unknown to the audience. He poured himself a glass of amber whiskey as the door opened. The person who entered was hidden in shadow, their identity a mystery. Tucker smiled, a slow, predatory grin. "It's all falling into place," he said to his unseen accomplice. "Lily and Devon are scrambling, just as we predicted. But it's time to play our trump card." He slid a file across the table. The camera zoomed in as the mysterious figure's hand, adorned with a distinctive, antique ring, opened it. Inside were not financial documents, but photographs. Photographs of a young Eve Newman, looking scared and lost, sitting in that distant dorm room. "Every empire has its weak spot," Tucker murmured, his voice a silken threat. "And the Newmans' weak spot has always been their heart." The screen faded to black, leaving the audience with a gasp-inducing cliffhanger. Tucker's war wasn't just against Chancellor Winters. It was a multi-front assault on the very soul of Genoa City, and he had just proven he was willing to target a missing teenager to win. The battle lines were drawn, and the war for Genoa City's future had just become terrifyingly personal. The Young and the Restless, YNR, spoilers for Wednesday, October 22nd, reveal that Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, will confess to Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, while Noah Newman's Lucas Adams, double trouble causes concern. At the hospital in Los Angeles, Sharon will fret over the awful situation she's facing. Since Noah is in an induced coma and Mariah Copeland, Cameron Grimes, is distraught at the clinic in Boston, Sharon is feeling torn between her children right now. Although Sharon wants to be there for Mariah in person, making sure Noah's okay has to be the priority. Even so, Sharon will feel guilty about abandoning Mariah and will confess to Nick about how tough all this is. Nick will know Sharon is in a tight spot and will reassure her about being a good mom. Despite the worries they're both facing, Nick will cling to hope for the future and give Sharon a pep talk. Nevertheless, all the questions swirling about Noah's crash will continue to concern Nick as well as Sharon. Noah's facing double the trouble since he could have brain damage, and the person responsible for running him off the road hasn't been caught. That means Noah could still be at risk and that he's been keeping some big secrets from his parents, so it's easy to see why Sharon and Nick will be on edge. Nick and Sharon will have a lot on their minds as they await updates on any news regarding Noah's condition. As for Mariah, she'll be tormented by Ian Ward's Ray Wise visit, even if it's only happening inside her mind. Mariah's history will come back to haunt her as this version of Ian taunts her and makes her even more miserable. Back in Genoa City, Daniel Romolotti Jr., Michael Graziade, will react to the smooch Tessa Porter, Kate Fairbanks, just gave him. Since Daniel is a good guy who wouldn't take advantage of Tessa when she's drunk and emotionally vulnerable, he'll surely put a stop to all this before it goes any further. However, Daniel will also face a difficult choice on Wednesday's YNR episode. That may involve what Daniel's going to do when Tessa sobers up and how he's going to handle these growing feelings of his. Daniel may feel conflicted since Tessa needs him, but it's getting harder and harder to be around her platonically. Will Daniel decide to put some distance between them or continue supporting Tessa despite the complications? The Young and the Restless spoilers say Daniel will wrestle with his dilemma, so stay tuned to see what he does next. The Young and the Restless, YNR, spoilers reveal that we've got a November sweeps preview for you, so let's discuss the huge mysteries that'll unravel along with some new love interests and exciting debuts. November will kick off with Noah Newman's coma awakening, but he'll be a bit of a Newman rebel as Lucas Adams takes over the role. Between Noah's time away and whatever brain injury issues might have changed him, he'll be an edgier character this time around. Noah will distance himself from his Newman identity, which could point to memory issues or perhaps just a post-coma personality transformation. Either way, YNR fans will see some tension between Noah and Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, as a result. Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, will continue to worry about Noah and whatever troubling situation he's tangled up in. There'll be plenty more Los Angeles drama, so look for Sienna Bacall, Tamara Braun, to be part of all that along with Detective Burrow, Matt Cohen. The truth behind Burrow's motives and real boss will be revealed soon, so Nick and Sharon will realize their hunch about him seeming off was correct. Of course, we should also talk about Roger Howarth since he'll be making his YNR debut soon. Sienna recently spoke about someone named Mitch and suggested they were partners for life, but she also seemed unsettled over not knowing where he was. Mitch could be Howarth's character as well as the person who tried to eliminate Noah. Whatever the case, Howarth will play someone with a key connection to all the Noah chaos, so stay tuned for more story updates. In the meantime, Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, will have to decide if Kyle Abbott's Michael Mealer right about Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, being bad news. Kyle will work to prove that to Claire, so will he succeed or push her further into Holden's arms? Either way, Holden's past may come into play again. Whatever Holden and Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, are hiding about their time in LA could come back to haunt them through all the Mitch, Sienna, and Noah mayhem. Sharon and Nick have been growing closer throughout Noah's ordeal, but will they continue on this road to a romantic reunion? It's always tough to say when Nick and Sharon are involved since they tend to dance around their feelings without fully exploring them. As for Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, and Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, their own reunion seems poised to happen sooner rather than later. Nate and Victoria may find themselves back in bed together at some point during November sweeps. A wedding is also on the horizon since Christine Blair, Laura Lee Bell, and Danny Romalotti, Michael Damian, will finally tie the knot. Plus, Devin Winters, Brighton James, will face a surprising obstacle that spins off from